am Dr. Christy Taylor, founder of Work Solutions LLC and Work Global News Magazine, and I am excited about today's Changemaker interview. Today, we are featuring Evan Sohn. He is part of the founding team behind Aura Intelligence, a platform transforming how organizations make workforce-related decisions. And, I'm so excited about this discussion today because we're going to talk about how you built this company and some of the issues with workforce data. But I want to turn it over to you, Evan, to introduce yourself, and we're going to jump right into that conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your show. Thanks so much. It's great to meet you. We've been emailing, so it's really great to actually meet you. And thank you so much. Love the accent, by the way. Love the Mississippi accent. I have the honor and privilege of being the CEO of Aura Intelligence. Aura Intelligence was actually incubated inside of Bain Company. Bain is one of the world's leading management consulting firms, helping companies of all sizes really address their biggest business issues. And Aura was really built to really handle the workforce analytics side of those problems and those challenges. And it's been really exciting. We actually spun out of Bain almost a year ago. We spun out of Bain May 1 of 2024. So we're just about a year old as a company goes. I've been myself in technology for my entire career, having been my first company at the age of 21 in the 1990s. I was in mobile computing. And then in the O's, I was in security, and the 10s, I was in payments. And I got into HR tech in the early 2020s.
Yeah, you know what? This is perfect timing because I am just moved really full time into HR myself. And one of my first roles as part of, workforce improvement and organizational development is that I have been digging into the data. So I want to talk a little bit more about what has helped to shape Aura Intelligence, because you talked about bridging from this parent company, and people don't really realize the importance of analyzing workforce data. Now I'm looking at this from a recruitment retention, how we going about our ERP systems. I want you to walk us through the aha moment that led you to really say, look, we need something like Aura Intelligence so that we can address the gaps that that people are really missing as a result of not, doing data analysis in the workplace.
Yeah. It's a great question. It's a great question. The reality is that no one knew this really existed a decade ago. So for anyone that's listening going, oh, I never heard of workforce analytics or workforce intelligence, no one really cared about it so much. And again, when I say nobody, obviously I'll get yelled at. Not many people cared about it, or not as many people cared about it a decade ago. And 5 years ago, it was hard to actually all of this information. And so we're really at the beginning, if you will, really the first inning of workforce analytics and workforce intelligence. And let me tell you what that means, certainly from my perspective. The world of work has changed forever. We all grew up with grandparents or parents that had one job their whole career, and now the average Gen Zer has one job per year. So the world of work has changed forever, and we've always said a company's best asset are its people. Well, if that's true, then tracking and understanding what's going on inside of a company regarding workforce is going to really be part of every decision. Certainly ones that affect overall businesses. And I can give some examples, but this is really an outside in looking. I want to know what's going on inside of the company that I might join. I want to know what's going on the side of the company that I might buy. I have an investment in a company. I want to know what's going on from a workforce perspective in order to protect my overall investment.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to dig deeper into that conversation, right? Because, like you said, You're right, because years ago when we talked about looking at data trends, it was just a good old Excel spreadsheet, and it wasn't something that dug that deep. But we're gonna talk about that more, but I want to dig a little bit more into your background because
Sure.
you kind of shared a little bit with us. But your background really sits at the intersection of strategy and
That's right.
consulting and
That's
data
right.
science. So, how has that blend really influenced the way that you approach solving talent and workforce challenges?
Great. So the challenges that we help a company solve is understanding how do they look relative to other people. Let's get big enterprise just for a moment, and then we'll take it down to the smaller business. If you're a big company, you want to know, how am I doing? It's certainly about the C-suite, right? How's
Mhm.
sales doing? Oh, sales of this company was up by 20%. And that's good because all of their peers were only up by 15%, right? Everyone has these two metrics. How's your finance department? Well, we earned this much money in profit. Is that good? Well, it's good because our peers all earn less. And so everybody always had these sort of two metrics, and they would benchmark themselves against their peers. This never happened in terms of workforce dynamics. And head of HR, he or she, what was their key metric? Their key metric was how many jobs are open, how fast are they filling those jobs, and are people happy? Not really, hey, is my workforce more effective than my peers' workforce? And these things are actually measurable now. We could look at attrition rates. How are people leaving? Are people happy? Sentiment data. Uh, Job open and close rates. How fast are people filling in those jobs? The overall competitiveness of their compensation, the span of their management. How many managers per employees do they have? And we can look at all this data and help companies understand what's going on inside of a company. And I'll just give you a great example. If a company all of a sudden they had 500 jobs open on the internet, 500 open jobs, and in 1 week they went from 500 to 200, you'd say, something's going on at that company. Now, that might not hit Wall Street. You might not read about that in the New York Times because they're only going to pick up information regarding, oh, they announced the layoff. But what happens when those job posts actually all come down, or half of them come down inside of a week? What happens when the employee sentiment, how the company feels about their overall employer drops by 20%? Or what about if half of senior management have actually left the company within the last 5 months? These are real serious indicators. And I'm giving you the negative side. The positive side is also there. Your favorite company that is now looking to hire more AI developers or AI designers. This is just a leading indicator of where that company might be going. And it's just really fascinating to watch companies from a workforce perspective.
Yeah, something I want to circle back on that you said. We're looking at this from the inside of the company, but I want you to talk a little bit more about a comment you made about the outside looking in, because how is this data being used to inform when we look at websites like, I guess, like PayScale or other websites where you can look on and you can kind of find out about a company, right? How does this type of data inform me if I'm a candidate for a company and I want to learn more? Is this type of data being used to inform me as a candidate?
Yeah. So the answer is we don't really work with candidates yet.
Okay.
But you can understand, what we're able to do. And again, this is like looking at the future. Before you go to a company, what are you doing today? You're pulling up their URL. You want to see their website. Maybe you'll go to LinkedIn to see who you know at that company. Maybe you'll go to Glassdoor to see what our employees
Yes.
talking about, or Fishbowl. You'll go there, etc. What we can actually tell you about a company is who they've actually hired in the last 6 months. Now, let's break that down for a second. When you go apply to a job, and if you ever apply to a job on LinkedIn, it might say, "Oh, Dr. Taylor, you're going to be the top 10%, the top 5% of
Mhm.
applicants to this job." But what our data can actually tell you is who they actually hired in the last 6 months, and how do you rank among those. Now, we don't do that today. We're not really candidate focused, but what we can actually do is help a company understand how is a company growing. I'll just give you a really simple example. If all of your competitors are opening up offices in Buenos Aires and you're not, gee, are you missing out on something? Right? Is there something going on that all your,
Mhm.
and that's always been, people have always looked for that sort of information. Hey, am I overpaying my people? Where's everyone going? Why am I losing people? How are they getting better people than I'm getting? What's my attrition rate look like? And again, these things really matter a lot more when you're larger, but you could sort of understand it when you're a small and fast growing company also. Hey, I want to look like Stripe. And if Stripe is the company that I want to look like, when did they first hire their first non-home based head of sales? Or, hey, how did they break up their company between remote and in-person jobs? How does that look? That's the sort of information in the data that we have.
This is fantastic. And I was just kind of reading back through your bio, everything that you're talking about in terms of workforce trend, talent flows, organizational benchmarks. I want you to just kind of, you mentioned that where you see companies leveraging the, like hiring people to engage more with AI. Does your company, how does the organization, how are we actually using AI to kind of monitor those trends? Have you guys started the
Right.
process of integrating
Yeah,
AI?
no, we have a very big partnership with Anthropic,
Mhm.
big collaboration with them, leveraging their data, real partnership with them. We use AI in a number of different places. One of the first places we use AI is really in cleaning up the data to really what we would call normalize it. What do I mean by that? You could take 20 companies and one company calls a software engineer a coder. Someone else calls them a software developer. Someone else calls them an engineer. Someone calls them a principal engineer. Someone calls them a staff. There are lots of different titles for very similar things. And how do you look at data if everything looks differently? And we use AI in order to really make that possible. And at the same time, we use AI to help allow our clients to change the way these
Mhm.
things are actually categorized. Hey, I know that in this company, when they call someone business development, it's really account management. So don't classify it as you normally would as sales. It's really account management because I know the way this company actually classifies people, or actually breaking it down. If you look at an insurance companies, so much of an insurance company is in sales. There's so many different divisions. There's so many different layers of sales and different
Mhm.
titles of sales. And we're able to use AI to help categorize different insurance companies against each other. Because again, if you go back to that first question, hey, am I doing it right? And, in our Bain heritage, you think about, when does a CEO call on Bain? When does a CEO call on a management consulting firm? And usually it's, hey, am I doing it right? I'm looking to have a question answered. I'm going to be expanding my revenue in the next 4x in the next 3 years. What should I look like in the next 4 years? Or, hey, I'm thinking of this and I'm thinking of that. Help me understand what's actually going on. That's the type of information that we're providing from a workforce perspective.
Okay, so Evan, one of the things that you mentioned is you talk about the power of leveraging all of this data. That this concept of where we're talking about HR analytics, this is kind of a fairly new concept in terms of how we're going, right? You might have tracked stuff in a Excel spreadsheet or however you tracked it back in the day, paper. So if you're listening to this, however you tracked it, right? But now we're kind of getting into this fine tuning of the analytics. So we often hear about product market fit, and but you have spoken about the importance of mindset shifts, because transitioning people to this one of this uh well, we track it via Excel or however they're tracking it, right? That's going to require a mindset shift and really taking the data points and the outcomes of the data and using it for improvement. So when we talk about a mindset shift, utilizing workforce data to support mission critical and strategic change, how do you go about creating that and supporting this shift in perception, especially when it comes to showing company the power of leveraging data to make these
Sure.
types of decisions?
So, we write, how we do it is we write a lot, we publish a lot, we talk to as many people as possible, we'll show people the information. I was meeting about a month ago with the global head of talent of a very, very large multinational
Mhm.
conglomerate. And I said to her, hey, do you know you have a problem with your junior level marketing associates and their attrition rate? And she says to me, tell me something I don't know. Of course she knows everything going on inside of her company. I said, it's twice as bad as all of your peers. And she said, okay, excuse me. She said, now I'm interested. And I think the ability to show HR professionals and CEOs and CFOs, hey, what's going on inside your company, and you're looking at it from a people perspective, from a workforce perspective, by looking at how others are behaving, I can help change decisions now. Hey, is my
Mhm.
everyone attrition means people leave. People are always leaving. It's a matter of whether it's better or worse than your peers, or whether it's better or worse than what you want it to be. And so I think that's really the type of information that we're able to show people how this often moves. We do a lot of work in the financial community, in the financial markets. And I think what's really interesting is, people will look at Netflix and they'll track their subscribers and they'll look at their media that they're providing and the new content they're providing and their market capture and their overall sales rate. And I think those are really, really, of course, telling things about how they're doing on a revenue side and revenue performance. But they're not even looking for a moment at, hey, are they able to hire people? Are they losing people faster than do the people that work there believe in the same thing that you believe? Or are people leaving there faster than ever before? Hey, a company that said they're growing because they're doubling their sales team. Are they doubling their sales team? Are you tracking to see whether they're doubling their sales team? A company that says that they're hiring lots and lots and lots of AI engineers. Are they? Or are they just hiring engineers? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? Are they paying more than everybody else is? And it's really fascinating to watch as the financial community starts to adopt this information as tradable information, tradable data. And I think that's really what we're seeing there. And they're always first, or maybe in this case third, to the table to spend money looking at information to see how can they make money knowing this information. I have information that people are unhappy at a certain company. There are people leaving at a certain company. They're updating their LinkedIn profiles at a certain company. There are things that are happening at a certain company. That's very, very valuable information, whether it's from an organizational perspective or from an investment perspective. It's a very valuable very valuable information. One day we'll make it available to the candidate, because I think the candidate too. Hey, who's hiring people that look like me? Right? Forget applying to companies. Forget all that side of it. Hey, this is who I am. Here's my skill set. Who is hiring people that look like me? Don't tell me that they're equal opportunity. Don't tell me I would be in the top 5% of applicants. I don't want to know applicants. I want to know who is hiring people that look like me. Or let's take it a step further, a little bit of an upskilling. What am I missing? I want this job. I've always wanted to have that job. Looking at the last 6 months of people that they hired, what am I missing? What are the skills that I'm missing in order to get that job?
Yeah, and I think that that's where, if you guys are not already there, that's where it ends up going, right? Because what often happens to me, and this is me speaking as a career coach, is that people are looking for a job. They look for a job to see, okay, because they just want a job, but they're not necessarily considering, is that company a fit for them
That's
or
right.
the training. So they just want a job, right?
That's
And
right.
then just trying to get them to be more strategic in the job search process by asking those very types of questions you just proposed there. Hey, so your company, Ori Intelligence, you guys have experienced a lot of growth, and you kind of, to me, have already explained why, because we're kind of getting deeper, into the organizations. This conversation, it reminds me of 20 years ago when I first started in healthcare, and I remember I was working for an insurance company, and the president of the company was president at our training, and I said, we were talking about insurance policy, totally different topic, but I remember raising the question of, hey, should we tell people about insurance riders? They can purchase additional riders to take care of preventative health. And I remember he looked me dead in the face. He said, no, because that's going to cost us more money. Fast forward a few years later,
There you go.
you had
Right.
this whole trend starting to come out of, oh, if we do intervention and preventative medicine, that could change, right? And today, insurance companies have a totally different perspective on it, because now they leverage that data to say, hey, the prevention, and this is kind of what we're doing here with the HR departments are using the data that you guys provide as kind of a preventative side of sort of medicine or intervention, as we would say in healthcare. Now, your company, you guys have experienced a lot of growth. It's been remarkable, especially in an industry where it's often bogged down by fragmented and outdated information. And Lord knows I know that. So, what are some of the key challenges that you guys have faced early on, and how did your team really work to really overcome it? And I want to say this before I hand it back over to you. I can already tell just by the way that you approach that executive, and you said, hey, you asked her the question about her company, got her attention, and it was like, do you know that your competitors are doing this, this, and this? So that's probably just embedded in your overall approach of how you connect with people, right?
I'm old. That's what you're saying. I'm old. Um, I think our biggest challenge as a company is that um, there's a lot of temptations and opportunities. And one of my prior CEOs back in the when was that, late 90s, said to me, the biggest challenge for a fast growing company is to know the difference between a temptation and opportunity. And I think that really is the challenge. We're growing, and we're getting really focused in making sure that we continue to solve the problems for our initial customers, knowing where we want to be, in a year or 2 years or 3 years, but taking the time to actually go through those steps accordingly, making sure that we are doing it in an organized and effective fashion. Right, we run a very effective workforce. So making sure that we do it that way. R2, we're not growing at any cost. We're doing it, I like to think, in the right way. But I think that really is the biggest challenge, is making sure it is not being tempted by certain things that pull information a certain way. Like, I would love to be able to have a candidate facing solution that would work great for candidates. It would be amazing. we're not there yet, right? We're not there yet because that's just not where that's not really where that's not really where we are as a business. We're growing really inside of management consulting, private equity, hedge funds, enterprises. We're serving competitive intelligence for enterprises. So there's a certain area that we're growing first. And then as we grow there, we'll start looking at other places to expand. I think that's the biggest challenge is just growing in a controlled fashion.
Now, I'm going to read this statement from your bio. It says that we've scaled rapidly. You guys have supported over 1,800 client engagements
Yeah.
just in 2024 alone.
Yeah.
So, so that really shows where your heart is, at least right now, right? Where you're really focused at. Now, with that, in the amount of clients that you've just been able to help in the past year, one of the things that you have said is that you guys really focus on helping clients to move from reactive decisions to proactive strategy. And that's what I think we were talking about a little bit
That's
earlier
right.
about helping them to leverage their data. Can you give me some examples of like how that in real time this is played out for one of your
Sure.
clients, and what was the ripple
Sure.
effect across the organization?
Sure. So, thanks for doing all your homework. You did a good job. I think that being proactive, we're able to spot a trend in a workforce really, really quickly. So if I told you, and that's what we've seen happen. We've seen clients say, "Hey, we want to be, we want to align with our peers and what they're doing," and we're literally saying, "Hey, they just started hiring developers instead of here. They're hiring them here. They're opening a new office here." And we've seen those things play out, within 30 days, watching an organization really adjust accordingly. I'll tell you another one. We helped a hedge fund that had a very large position with one company. They were an activist hedge fund, so they took a more active role in steering that company. And what they're able to do with our data is they're able to say, "Hey guys, here's where you're overspending, and here's where you need to adjust." And they did, and they had a great quarter as a result. The company that they pushed to make those organizational changes, and that was really based on data that they got from Aura. So it's fun, it's exciting. I think we're in the right place at the right time, and I'm really just thrilled to be able to tell our story to you and your audience today.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to, be. When I look at my day to day life, like I look at how AI has really changed. Yeah, I remember years ago when I first started my business, I was like, so I'm just going to just show you something as simple as training, even not data analytics. I used to be like, oh man, I wish that there was a computer voice that I could use, so I don't have to record, record trainings. And then fast forward, here we are. So it's just like the AI has been able to really help us, become more robust in terms of how we're going about, at least the side that I work on, training, tracking trends. When we look at the future of workforce intelligence, what do you see as some like the biggest disruptions on the horizon, and how is your company positioning itself to address those challenges
Right.
or
So
opportunities?
yeah, I think you know I think that the opportunity is to really help executives, the executive suite, business professionals understand what's going on inside of other organizations in a much faster fashion. Today, there's a lot of data. We're sitting on billions and billions of records of data, and we use AI and different language models to help bring that data into insights for our clients. And I think the next step really is to make it even easier. How could you wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, Aura, who's hiring people that look like me? Hey, Aura, what happened last week in this industry sector regarding executive movement?" We have all that information. So it's just a matter of leveraging AI and to really get there where we could really make that happen, sitting on top of just really an incredible data pipeline that we have today.
Evan, give me a visual. I was thinking, listening to you talking, I was thinking about the good old business school SWOT analysis, and where you draw the box, and then we have to, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, right? So, how has your company really taken that good old school SWOT analysis and wrapped it up in a data driven way?
So regarding the strengths of our company or the strengths of
Or
data,
no, for the client. I'm sorry. So, for your clients, right? How have you guys changed? Like, we traditionally would do a SWOT analysis. How can
right?
the work that you guys do? How does
Right.
that
Yeah.
replace
So
that good old? Yeah.
sure. So we're very quickly able to tell a company, "Hey, here are your strengths. your attrition rate is low, your seniority level is great, your compensation is competitive, you're offering the right salary, you're hiring the right people, the tenure is appropriate, and we could benchmark. Hey, you're this score inside of this industry. Your overall workforce effectiveness score is this against your peers. So we're able to do that really from a strength perspective. And same thing on the weakness side. Hey, you're below your peers because you have too many employees per manager. You need to clean that up a little bit. Or hey, you have an issue with your attrition in your senior managers. They're leaving to go here and here. Maybe you need to change your compensation package around your long-term incentive plan around to make that better. Opportunity. Hey, look, this group that you have, while you look at attrition in whole, we're able to do that at a geographic and department level. So hey, look, this group that's over here, they're actually far happier, less
Mhm.
likely to leave. Maybe you should be building that group out more than building this group out. And then threats. Hey, look, you've lost this many engineers in the last 4 months to these big three competitors. You ought to do something about that. Obviously, how do you counter that accordingly? And each of those stories that I've just talked about, each of those anecdotes actually happened with different clients. Got a call from one company, we're losing engineers. Why are we losing them? Where are they going? Each of these have really happened. We're able to do that to a company very, very, very quickly and then track it accordingly, right? It's not just a one-time thing. Are they improving things? Here's a monthly report. Here's monthly data. And we have a portal and platform, et cetera, that you can look at. But it's not a one-time thing. Sales is not a one-time thing. And workforce effectiveness and understanding your workforce and your competitors' workforces are also not a one-time thing.
This has been a fantastic conversation. And, we are approaching the end, but I do have a couple of more questions to ask you because I don't want to just talk about the things you're doing with your company. That's been the main focus here. But I want to talk about some of the stuff you do in social impact before we get off. Because, again, we're a workplace focused change maker series, right? So we've talked about the workplace and you are deeply involved. You have a foundation, the Sohn Conference Foundation, right? How has your work, you do a lot of social impact work. You do work with social impact and pediatric cancer research. This has really influenced your leadership style and perspective how has this influenced your leadership style and perspective in the business
Sure.
world? Tell us a little bit about that work that you do in the community.
Sure. Thanks for bringing it up. I had a brother who passed away 31 years ago from cancer. He was 29 years old and he was a Wall Street trader. And his manager and two friends wanted to do something in his memory for charity. We all got involved in pediatric cancer. My brother wasn't a pediatric patient, but he really liked hanging out with cancer. When he was having his outpatient, when he was having his chemotherapy in those days, he liked doing the pediatric ring. It really energized him. And so we started a conference in 1995. We're actually going on our 30th year, and it was a financial conference. So the conference was made up of financial professionals, hedge fund managers, portfolio managers, private wealth managers, investors, et cetera, who would come together in New York and give their best idea. So they'd be speakers, they would give their best idea, and the audience would pay money to hear these best ideas. Again, this is pre-internet, pre-mostly everything. And we've been doing it for 30 years in New York. It's actually spread. We have conferences now in San Francisco, London, Monaco, Hong Kong, Australia. Tel Aviv should come back eventually. And then we're opening up Montreal this year as well. So, and I think I said Australia. So really
Mhm.
just an incredible raised. I think we're calculating now it's well over $150 million for pediatric cancer and other childhood related diseases on a global basis. So it's been really exciting. It's been an exciting journey. And it's exciting to celebrate, just an incredible milestone. And just like Aura, at Aura, we have just an incredible team. I cannot be prouder of the team that we've really built at Aura. Same thing
Mhm.
with the foundation. The team that we have in New York, all the local international conferences are run all by volunteers. The foundation has two part-time employees, and I'm not either one of them. But really, it's all run by volunteers, and it's just a fantastic team. So it's just great to be surrounded by great people. And at Aura, I am just surrounded by incredibly talented, good people. And that's what you need. I know it's about leadership. Leadership is making sure you're surrounded by people better than you, smarter than you, more capable than you, and you being able to establish a vision, stand by that vision, and help people understand how they could succeed in achieving that vision.
Well, that was amazing. I mean, and I just you're an amazing person for the work that you do. I mean, I
Thank
love
you
your
very much.
passion for the analytics side that you're driving change, and I love the work. Most people see me, they don't know, but my doctorate is in health science and global health. So I'm a health scientist by trade, even though I
Fantastic.
got this. So I'm always going to have an interest in public health. And, and so for you to be doing that work, continuing your brother's legacy and to take it as far as you have gone, Evan, is amazing to me. So congratulations to you and your team
Thank
on
you so
that and for
much.
the
Thank you.
outstanding leadership your organization provides on both ends in driving futuristic data-driven decision making in the workplace, as well as for the work that you're doing in social impact. So one final question for you, then I'll have you to share with the audience where they can find you and connect with you. So this is a Changemaker series. We always like to ask people, it's about you being the prescription for change. Hence is why we have the RX in our name. That's my health science background right there. What is one piece of advice that you wish someone had given to you at the start of your entrepreneurial journey, and how would that advice have changed how you do business today?
It's a great question. I started my first company right out of school, naive, etc. I think always strive to surround yourself with great people, just always. And when you're starting off, you don't have a lot of money, you're bootstrapping things, and usually that means you have to, cut corners and hire less expensive talent to get what you want. And I think if I would give myself advice, it would be never do that. Always strive for the best people. Better to get one great person than two not as great people. Always strive to have just surround yourself with great people. Um, Things are going to change. You're going to have to course correct, pivot, whatever euphemism we need to use, and making sure that you have great people always around you is going to be the difference. And once you recognize that someone is not great or someone's not a great fit, make that decision faster than you ordinarily would. And I think that'd be just a really good piece of advice for anyone starting out.
Thank you so much, Evan, for today's interview. Where can people find you and connect with you? And of course, all of Evan's information is going to be in the description box wherever you're listening to this or in the article that you read on our website.
Sure. You could follow me on LinkedIn. I blog probably three times a week, something like that. So I write a lot, maybe sometimes a little bit longer than others. You can email me at evan@auraintel.com. You can follow me on Twitter, also Evan Sohn, and again at LinkedIn it's Evan Sohn. So feel free to connect with me that way. Or we publish a lot of reports for free on auraintel.com, so you can go check those out as well.
All right, Evan, thank you for today's amazing interview again. Thank you for the work that you do, both from a business side as well as the social impact side in your community. You guys can tune in. Any final words, Evan, before we roll out today?
No, but really, thank you so much for inviting me. This has been great. You've got a great spirit, a great energy, and it makes the conversation flow just that much better. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you guys are tuning in, be sure to check out Evan's article on WORxK, WORxK, globalnews.com. Check it out on our YouTube and across all of our social media platforms. And keep being that prescription for change. Keep championing for things. And whether you're listening to this today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now, there's always some advice that you can use. Have a great day.